Hey guys, it's Claire. Look at that tree on the back of our house in just absolutely full bloom. It is gorgeous. Let me show you where we're at. We've got the cabbages, the onions. This is the kale that had bolted, if you remember from last week. I think right now I'm gonna let it go to seed, or just let it go as far as it can go. Swiss chards looking great. These Brussels, that's Xena in the background. The Brussels, I'm going to come over there and show you, because they started to bolt as well. And so for this Brussels sprout and for this Brussels sprout, I'm going ahead and letting that top part happen, if you can see it. But I chopped off the top part that was budding here and here. So these two now look like this. And that's what the under stories look. But these two are actually getting that flower stalk. So we'll keep our eye on those. And then over here, we've got the parsnips. And these broccolis. So far so good, right? Fingers crossed. And my daffodils coming up. This is the bed that's just kind of insanity. I mean, I've been out of town this week and the radishes just shot up. And one of them has flowered, so let me show you that. That's a really pretty little flower. So I am either gonna cut these up and put them back in the ground so it's, you know, biomaterial for the bed, or we may try to eat them. I'm thinking now that they've kind of bolted, I'm not sure how tasty they're gonna be. So that's that. These are our onions. They're starting to look great. Our lettuces. My neighbor's dogs. And here are some of those strawberries. You can see they're coming out of the wood chips. That one's looking really good. This is where the garden is going to be expanding to this year. As we build more raised beds, which look for that in a future video. And Don's been working on this very simple trellis, and he's going to show you how to build that today. So stick around, hit like, and make sure that you subscribe. We do weekly garden videos every Sunday, and behind the scenes videos every Thursday.
Sidelines one more day, but I wait for you to show that your love is true. And once I know that you're who you said you'd be, then you'll never know, you'll never be rid of me. You know what, Mr. McAllister? What? I got one foot in, I've got one foot.
Hey guys, today I wanted to show you how I built a really simple trellis. We used to have this in our front yard and I decided to repurpose it for our backyard, but in the front yard the posts were buried and I decided I wanted more height. So I thought I would just put them in some planters that we had and fill them with concrete to weigh them down. Okay, so I've got the concrete mixed up in the wheelbarrow here, ready to go into the container. Got the posts pretty much leveled up and I'm just going to dump the concrete in here, and then I'll get a level and double check the post for plumb and all that, and then we'll do the second one. Don't stress about this too much. You just need to get the concrete in the planter and you have plenty of time to plumb it up before it all sets. Okay, so the first planter's finished. Concrete's in there. Now we just gotta wait for that to set up. I got these temporary 2x4s here holding everything plumb while the concrete's setting. Double checked everything's perfectly plumb and straight. So now it's on to the next one, and then we'll build the top. So once you have both posts done, you want to make sure they're definitely plumb and definitely straight with each other. You've got plenty of time while the concrete's setting up. So you just want to make sure everything is lined up, plumb, which is straight up and down, level, which is straight across, and that the two posts are in a plane with each other. So you'll see an orange level that I went and got. That's what I'm doing, making sure the two posts are flat against each other. So now I'm working on the two cross pieces that go between the posts. I'm cutting some notches. They will drop down onto those supports. This can be a bit fiddly, but the good news is it doesn't have to be perfect. So the next thing I'm going to do is ease the ends of these joists. I want them to look a little bit softer. So I'm going to kind of put an angled cut on the end so it looks a little bit more elegant. So what I'm going to do is measure up about halfway up the piece of lumber, which is in this case about 3 inches, and make a mark. And then I will go over to where the notch is on the left there. That's where it's going to hit the support, and I'll come 2 inches off of that and make a mark there. And then I'll get a speed square and make a line and just cut that with the jigsaw. As you can see, when it comes to speed squares, size apparently does matter. This is boring footage of me using a jigsaw, which I probably should have edited out. But it is an example of proper jigsaw technique, which is blowing very hard right towards the blade every time you make a cut, so you can actually see the line that you drew. Okay, so now we got our notches cut. I'm going to pop them up on here, and then we'll bolt everything together. Okay, so next I'm going to cut the decorative cross pieces for the top. I usually make these out of 2x2, but unfortunately they were out of 2x2 and cedar, so I had to get 2x4. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them all to length and then stick them up there and see if they look too bulky. And if they do, then I'll just flip them all down to 2x2 on the table saw. So these are 8 feet exactly, so I'm going to cut each one 31 7/8. Since the saw blade takes 1/8 of an inch out of each cut. That'll keep them all even. And then once we have these cut, we'll stick them up there and see how they look. So I got them all cut, now I'm just going to throw them up there and eyeball the spacing. I haven't figured out yet how far apart I want them, but I really want to see if these 2x4s are going to work or if I need to do 2x2s. I don't know. I think I'm okay with the 2x4s. They're a little bit bulkier than I'm used to, but they don't look too bad. I might just take them to the chop saw and put like a little detail on the bottom corners of each one so they look a little less square, but I think overall I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to shape these ends real quick and then of course work out my spacing a little more properly. Here's a quick tip how to make multiple cuts on a chop saw. Just make a mark on your fence where you want the end of the board to be and lay each one down and make the same cut every single time. And all I'm going to do is just lay each board down, line it up with that mark, and then cut the 45 off. And I can do them really quick that way. I just set them down and go. So let's get that done. Now I'm pretty used to working with saws, but I imagine this footage might look a little bit frightening to some of you DIYers. I just want to say, don't be scared of the saw, just be careful. Press the material firmly against the fence, go slowly, and anything you use on a daily basis, keep it away from the blade. So earlier I put up these cross pieces, and now what I'm doing is just kind of tightening everything up. I'm making sure everything's stable, and I want to make sure that each cross piece is the same distance from the end of each support. kind of dialing all that in because they were just sitting up there. And then once I do that, what I'll do is go back and put some trim screws in. I used 3.5-inch outdoor trim screws just to keep everything tight. Claire really has a vision for those planters that are the base for these posts. She wants to plant vining stuff that will grow up and grow over. So I'm really hopeful that like in the next couple of months, you guys can check back in with a garden tour and see this beautiful vining plant growing all over this structure. All right, here comes the math part. You might be wondering why I'm once again measuring. I'm trying to find the center of each joist so that I can put the first cross member up dead center on both joists. The hardest part of the math is trying to figure out the spacing. I laid them up there earlier and I have a ballpark idea. I think it's about 7.5 inches. So what I'm doing right now is finding the dead center. I'm gonna put the first 2x4 cross piece dead center on those 2 marks. You also need to make sure you have the same clearance from each joist to the front and the back. Once you've got that nailed down, go ahead and secure it, and then everything else will be based right off of that. So I'm just setting all the joists up there and kind of ballparking them for visual reference. But what I really need to do is cut a piece of wood as a shim that is like a reference for how far apart they actually go. So that's that piece of wood. So now what I'm going to do is, based off of that center one that I already have attached, I'm going to attach each one using that spacer one at a time on the front and the back. Actually, I did all the fronts first on this one because the back can adjust. So you do all the fronts, get them all nailed down, the same exact width. Got to make sure they're the same distance from the front, from the joist as well. And then once you've got that nailed down, then you move to the back and do the same thing. Attach each one, and then you just do the other side. It takes a second with all the ladder moving and stuff, but everything is based off of that center joist that we made sure was dead center, right? So you use your spacer, and you space each one off of that and work to the outside, and then you go to the other side and work to the outside of that. So every cross member is evenly spaced. Once you get all that done, you're basically finished with your trellis. That's what it looks like when it's all done. I think adding those 45s on the corner of the cross pieces made a big difference, but maybe I'm just a perfectionist, I don't know. I think it turned out well, and I think I can't wait to see what Claire plants in these planters. If you like what you saw, please like and please subscribe. It means a lot to us. And listen to our new single right here, which is available for download at theormewoods.com. See you next time.